Denver Gridiron and Hoops, coming to you live on YouTube. No double entendre intended there. But that being said, guys, we've got a special episode in front of us because, I realize I've been slacking. I realize that the Broncos haven't gotten the love that they deserve. And that stops here because although the Nuggets have been really busy capturing headlines and doing everything they can to hold down the Broncos, the news ain't going to stop. So I wanted to just make this special episode here for the Broncos and kind of just dive into a little bit of Broncos talk. And if you haven't noticed, I can't say Broncos enough. First off, I figured I'd start off this episode with the best topic available, and that's the punt. Yes, the punter, the best topic. No, I'm just kidding. Not the best, but I thought it was worth bringing up first because shock value more than anything. I have been hearing some good hype on this guy. Apparently, he's got a cannon attached to his torso, and he's got a brutal boom behind his punts. And I know it's stupid, punter, you guys are like, that's not even football. But that being said, I think it's going to really help us flip some field position. I think that we've been stuck with punters that we'll punt from our own 40 and the opponent will get the ball on the other 30. And it's like, what are we even doing here? So I definitely am excited about it in terms of how much excitement I can have for a punter, if you get what I mean. And really, it's about the same amount of excitement that I have for Caleb Lohner. The project tight end, Sean drafted, I believe it was the 7th round. I could be mistaken there. My main worry is he doesn't seem to be good at basketball when he's a basketball player. Here's the deal. I want you to at least have some talent, But what can I say? I mean, he did play for some good programs. And if I was to play him one-on-one 100 times, I would lose 100 times. I mean, that's a taken for granted, but yeah, I understand he's got a larger frame and things of that nature, and I really do hope it translates. Obviously, project player, who the heck knows? They're taking a flyer and seeing if anything sticks, really. I mean, that's the name of the game there. But that being said, I mean, what do we got here? It's one of those picks where, unfortunately, it's in Sean we trust, but fortunately, he's been doing pretty well in what his vision is. I'm going to trust in Sean as long as he's here, because that is our path forward. And worst case scenario, we burn a 7th round pick. So that happens every day. Not too worried about that in general. I'm going to swing over into who I think the underrated players are on this team that are looking to break out. And I've got one on both sides of the ball. First off, I'm going to go with DeAndre Tillman. I love this guy. Every time I watch him, he's making plays. It seems as if he's a disruptive force that just had a limited play count, because I almost always saw him winning his one-on-one matchups to the point to where in the beginning I just kind of noticed his name around the quarterback, if you get what I mean. But then I just kind of paid more attention to him, like zoning in on him when he was in. And just watching him win his one-on-one battles, I think this guy is set up to have a pretty successful season in front of us. And actually, I don't think he'll actually push for a starting role or anything like that, but I think he's going to be a contributor. And I think he's going to make some plays for Broncos en route, I should say, to our playoff. Definitely think we're making the playoffs. If I had to put a number on it today, I'm guessing we're going to pop off 11 wins. Pretty impressive season. Definitely think that would be a step in the right direction. We have so much talent that we added in terms of defense, and then just the playmakers that we added for Bo. The 2 new running backs, I definitely think that they are an upgrade over the previous room. And matter of fact, I think they're going to see the majority of the time. I think the only time you're really going to see any of the other additional running backs is trash time or just trying to give the other guys a break. Think Sean's going to go back to his kind of dual running back system, which is going to be phenomenal because I think both of these guys are going to be successful. And then also the other weapon I mentioned, obviously Evan Ingram. I think he's going to give an additional security blanket in terms of someone that Bo Nix can go to when the play breaks down. I think he is going to be extremely successful. It won't necessarily always show up on the stat sheet because, for example, Bo Nix does like to spread the rock around, but what Evan Ingram also brings, other than, being able to catch very well, being very athletic, is he actually makes the defense stay true to cover him completely. Whereas you'd always see with the previous tight ends where they wouldn't take the receiving threat very seriously. And what that does is they start shading some of the other players that are more successful, and then they're basically closer to the ball so they can make a play a little quicker. So I think that's going to be pretty impactful. It's going to show dividends. And like I said, not always on the stat sheet, but in terms of affecting the game, definitely it's gonna be impressive to watch. And then that being said, I mentioned two underrated players. The other one's gonna be on the offensive side of the ball. I know I just mentioned some offensive players there, but as far as breakout, I'm not throwing any of those guys under the category because I mean, I guess you could, but I'm looking for a little bit more underrated player. Marvin Mims. I think that he's due for a good season. I think that his speed started to show, and not only that, but the connection with Bo Nix. Like Bo Nix started recognizing I can just chuck it up for this guy, and he's going to be there. And matter of fact, Bo Nix was even kind of underthrowing Mims on some of those long, deep balls. And that being said, I don't think it was on purpose. I think he just undergauged his speed, Marvin Mims. So I don't think he's lacking the arm talent to make those throws a little bit deeper. I think it was just one of those situations where it's like, he chucks it up there and he's like, oh man, I underthrew him because he is that quick. So look for him a lot more on those big plays, the big strikes as they call them, and look for him to make a difference next year. His speed might be another factor in terms of, they had some unique packages where they would bring him off the edge at like a kind of like a tailback type situation. I can't remember whether it was motion or whatever created that possibility, but look for him to be even more dangerous now that we have a run threat that they're going to have to actually stay true on. So for example, if we're running a fake play to the right with a basically almost like a play action, but a fake play to the right and then have the end around with Mims on the backside. Now the defense is going to have to stay a little bit more contained on that other side to actually, contain's not the right word, but they're going to set the edge on the other side because they're worried about that run that I believe will be effective. So all that being said, I think Marvin Mims and DeAndre Tillman, they're going to be good for us this year. They're going to contribute to winning football, which is what we need. It's what we ask for, if you get what I'm saying. And that being said, we're going to go ahead and transition over to the PJ Locke conundrum. I'm in the camp of I hope we keep him. The guy's talented, and we deal with safety health issues, and neither of our safeties are pencil him in for 17 games. So I say we keep him. Let the guy kind of work through the mud, come out on the other side, and worst case scenario, we could have some exotic packages that include him. And obviously, Jahdae Barron may throw a wrench into that with his jack of all trades abilities, but I still think PJ Locke has the talent to be a pretty dang successful backup, specifically a safety, obviously, but definitely gives us some flexibility in terms of different packages and things of that nature. So that is basically my outlook on the secondary. Like JL Skinner, I don't know. I wanted the guy to be successful. He's 6'4". I'm like, come on, just please be successful. Please be successful, because if we have a 6'4" safety that can just dominate the field, what is anybody going to do? But unfortunately, it just seems like it's not going to materialize with him. Hopefully he can continue his special teams role and kind of solidify what we got going on there. But there's not a lot of hope, to tell you the truth. Just a little worried in general about his production. But I'm going to go ahead and run down the defense a little bit. The linebacking corp, which I brought up, DeAndre Tillman, I think he's going to be a very valuable secondary piece. Outside linebackers, it's going to be tough for them to match their production last year. And hopefully us bringing back pretty much a similar front will allow them to be successful again. And hopefully Nick Bonito takes another step forward, because let's be real, even if let's say he somehow rattles off 15 sacks and we got to pay him quite a bit of money, that's a good problem to have. I'll take those types of problems, because that means that he's legit. Because right now we're on the border where we're like, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? Where are we at with this? So my hopes are that he proves he is the guy and we end up having to pay him, because every year the salary cap goes up. It'll start to normalize. It won't be that big of an issue. Pay him early and don't worry about it later. That's kind of where I'm at with that. And then Cooper, we're hoping that he can put together a solid season. I think he's one of those guys that'll stick around 7 to 8 sacks. I can't see him getting too much more than that. As far as the inside linebackers go, Dre Greenlaw, man, the guy just is pure effort and pure athleticism, and he just has a physicality to him that you can't teach. And he is going to be super successful as long as he's healthy. But that being said, I am relatively happy with our depth. I enjoyed Justin Strnad in terms of his pass rushing situations where he seemed to have some success. As far as a backup linebacker goes, like I'm pretty happy with him. And Drew Sanders, it's just tough. It just seems like he can never stay healthy. Hopefully this season he can kick that and actually contribute. And if nothing else, special teams, we could always use someone contributing there. And then to kind of back up for a second, I did skip past the starting safeties and corners. So Hufanga, super excited. He's the most enticing player of this upcoming season, because if he's healthy, he is a game wrecker. He is someone that we are all gonna just enjoy watching because of the pure football player. It's like watching, Troy Polamalu. I was trying to say anything but that, but it is what it is, And then Brandon Jones, super, super underrated coming in from free agency. It seems as if he was maybe one of the biggest underrated additions in the entire free agency class. So he has been super successful. And switching back over to corner, Pat Surtain, he's one of those people you just don't even need to mention because he's just that good. He is by far and away the best chip. So we'll leave it at that. And then corner battle. Obviously Riley Moss is looking like he is going to retain the secondary cornerback role, which I'm really happy with Riley Moss when healthy. And he did struggle last year when he wasn't healthy, and I'm just hoping with the addition of Jahdae Barron, we can start giving him some time if he breaks down or something like that to take some time off and recover correctly, because I do think we rushed him back last season. And I think his play suffered because of it. So that being said, it's good to see him back, being able to work through injury and stuff like that. But I mean, the guy's awesome. It was funny. I saw a hilarious nickname for him. They called him the White Shadow. I just thought that was too funny. But yeah, I don't know if you guys saw that video of Pat Surtain and Riley Moss running through a drill, and their footwork was like literally in sync, and it was impressive to watch. I'm definitely excited about the secondary defense in general. So at the defensive line, we obviously got Zach Allen, who had a killer season. And he's one of the ones that I'm like, I don't know if you can repeat that, because he was just that good. Like, he was borderline defensive player of the year candidate. And I don't know if he can repeat that. And if he can, our defense is going to be super successful. And he's probably going to get a big paycheck, as just like Benito. And DJ Jones coming back, he's going to be a run stopper, of course. I think he's somewhat regressed over his time here, but it is hard to tell sometimes with those guys that kind of soak up double teams and things of that nature. So although his name's not being announced, he definitely could be making impacts that I just wasn't aware of. And then John Franklin Myers, I really enjoyed that addition, and I'm hoping that he'll be able to find success in this upcoming season, because obviously I know he wants a new contract. So that being said, the defensive line is looking stout, and there's really not much questions there. I think that they made a few additions in terms of some young guys, which are going to be rotational players. So like if in worst case scenario, There's just a few snaps while someone else is catching their breath. So just really encouraged by that and the defense in general. And then going to pop back over to the offensive side. The offensive line, it's really tough to tell on how good they are. I think they're good. Like Pro Football Focus, I think ranks them like first. Do I think they're the first O-line? To tell you the truth, I don't think an O-line that can't produce 1,000-yard rusher or really about a 600-yard rusher can be considered the first. And that's just my personal opinion. I don't think even if the running back is not good, a good offensive line elevates. But that being said, in the pass protection part of it, I think they did a pretty dang good job. I think that they gave Bo Nix the time he needed a lot of times to make something happen. And we'll see how that bears out. Mike McGlinchey, he had his moments. The backup tackles that came in, Alex, I'm going to butcher his last name, Palzewski. And then I don't recall Matt Pert, but I recall Frank Crum. I really enjoyed when they came in because I was thinking that it was going to be a turnstile over there when McGlinchey was out, and they actually played really well. So other than that, Quinn Miners, I love Quinn Miners. Love Quinn Miners. I think he's an elite right guard in terms of physicality. And Ben Powers is solid. I'd say he's solid. And then Luke Wattenberg, I think that's maybe the weak point on the offensive line, but it's more or less when he gets injured where we see Alex Forsythe, that's even more concerning. So I think the offensive line is going to be able to hold their water and produce a solid offense for us this year, because like Sean Payton says, it all starts in the trenches. If you don't have a good offensive line, you can't properly evaluate your running backs. If you don't have a good offensive line, you can't properly evaluate your quarterback, which then the wide receivers are dependent on the quarterback, and so is the tight end. So hopefully they're producing good results in practice, so that way the coaching staff can see what they need to do and how they need to game plan and things of that nature. And those are things that you never even really think about. We're talking about practice, man. I need a drop for that, because I'm getting old. I'm an old man, and the only real drop I have that's worth mentioning is
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's legit though. But so they still have Michael Burton at fullback. I'm sure they probably keep him, but at this point, if you're going to use the fullback for about 24 plays in a year, I really just don't understand the roster spot. Let Adam Troutman or Nate Atkins, if you're going to keep both of those, line up in that spot. Because, let's be real. Nate Atkins can probably put a body on someone just as well as Burton can. Unless he's like a special teams darling that I don't see, just because I'm not really paying attention to the special teams in general, then I would understand it a little bit more. And then we'll go ahead and move over to tight end, since I was talking about Troutman and Atkins. Evan Ingram, I already talked about him, stud. And I think Troutman as a backup tight end might actually be decent. Now, by all means, he's no Jeb Putsier. Yeah, I just dropped that. No Tony Scheffler on the back end. But he's going to be at least solid, and it's going to provide us some blocking, especially if Evan Ingram's going to be rocking the slot a lot, like I'm hearing is happening. So that's another interesting topic in general, how they're going to be able to grab him from the slot, motion him anywhere on the field, and take advantage of an uneven front. It's going to be really interesting to see. So moving on to wide receiver. On the depth chart, Devon Vele, I'm actually a huge fan of, like big time fan of, because I like the guys that don't drop the ball. Like, it's just my favorite attribute, because as long as it can get to you and you can catch it, even if I know it sucks when you don't get those extra yards, but like Tyler Lockett doesn't, like there's something being said with just catching the dang ball. And that was my biggest gripe with Jerry Jeudy, is he'd do all this stuff to get open and then drop it. And it reminded me with basketball players, they call it $1 million move with a 10-cent finish. And that is the equivalent in my mind. Everything there is dependent on, obviously, the starting quarterback, but we'll get there in a second. After that, we've got running back. So RJ Harvey is listed as the starter, with J.K. Dobbins as the spell or the second string running back. I don't know if that'll be the case out the gate. I think that JK might steal the carries out the gate just because he's a veteran and because he's going to be able to pick up things probably a little quicker and kind of give Sean Payton a little bit more comfort in the first few weeks of having someone who's just kind of, straight out the package ready to go. That being said, I do think RJ Harvey will supplant him throughout the year, but I don't think it's going to be because of lack of production on J.K. Dobbins' behalf. I think it's going to be because RJ Harvey is just playing well and a little bit more versatile. And as far as running backs back behind them, I'm not too concerned because, like I said earlier, I think it's going to be that 2 running back role. And that all leads us to the bright spot in my mind. Bo Nix. I love him. I can't say enough about him. When I watched him early on in the season, I had moments of frustration, but I also saw glimpses of what could be. I think that his pocket presence and his sixth sense of when someone is near him is phenomenal. I think that at times he got happy feet and threw ducks and stuff like that, which I do think is coachable. I think the majority of his issues that he has can be coached out, and I think his intangibles are off the charts in terms of leadership, in terms of passion, in terms of playmaking ability, and in terms of IQ. I think that he is going to surpass his last season. I don't think he's going to have a sophomore slump. I think he's going to have a sophomore jump, and he is going to produce this year. He is going to be elite. And that is going to put us competing for a division title, especially if the whole division's beating up on each other. The Raiders are looking like they're going to be better than last season. So that's something to look out for right there. The Broncos are definitely a dark horse. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying they're going to pull down a championship or anything like that, but I think they can make some noise. And you guys need to tell me if you think they can make some noise. And if you've made it this far in this live podcast, my first one, I know I'm sorry you got to see this ugly mug, but if you've made it this far, drop a follow, leave a like, and just remember that the Denver Broncos are near and dear to my heart. I may have been talking about the Nuggets a lot here in the last couple weeks, but they're not forgotten. They may be on the back burner, but that's because I wanted to slow cook them, just let it sizzle. All right, y'all. This is Denver, Gridiron and Hoops. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
In the Mile High City, where the lights shine bright, the Broncos fight hard in the cold, clear night. With every Hail Mary, our hopes take flight, and the Nuggets dribble dreams into the spotlight. 24 seconds, the clock's racing down. Gridiron and hoops, we stand tall. With every dunk and three, we give it our all. In the city of champions, we heed the call. Together as one, we rise, never fall. With a quick crossover and a thunderous slam, the crowd's rolling wild, it's now or never, man. From the court to the field, we stake our claim. Together we'll rise, united in the game. Hit sticks collide, feel the energy surge. One we rise, never fall. So let's lace up tight, let the games begin. In Denver's heart where we all win.